ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun. Well, I've been entertaining two 15-year-old girls for the past several days, and I think
Oh my
I have
goodness.
7 more to go.
7 more. I'm in the middle of 2 weeks of no day camp for an 11-year-old, and it's challenging.
So is this where Pokemon Go comes in? Here, kids, go run in the street.
Yeah. We tried it, and we couldn't get on the server. It kind of didn't work, although we see people constantly doing it in our parks.
Well, and it's been over 100 degrees here every day, so
Yikes.
nobody wants to run outside.
No, I guess not. Do they come into the air conditioning? Maybe it's the Pokemon sitting on your air conditioner.
Maybe.
I don't know. So, well, I guess this is a good pause to introduce our podcast, and
Hey.
let's get started.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Nicole Erdix, and with me today are Terry Morrow. Hello, Terry.
Hello there. Enjoying the air conditioning here in New Jersey.
Yes, always good to have. And Catherine Haleko. How are you, Catherine?
I'm good, except for that bored child.
Are you need conditioning where you are as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was very warm the last few days. I mean, very warm for us, which is like 90, but it's cooled down now. So
Yeah. It's been really, really hot here in New Jersey the last few days. I think it's close to 100. Yesterday I had to go to the DMV to renew my driver's license, which had to be done by the end of the month. So I procrastinated that pretty good. And fortunately, there is like one DMV in our area where when the line goes out the door, as it always does, it goes out the door into an air-conditioned indoor mall as opposed to outside. So I picked that, and so did several hundred of my fellow New Jerseyans. So the line was quite lengthy, but it was air-conditioned. So
you didn't do an online appointment? You didn't book an appointment ahead of time?
Oh, we don't have that here.
Oh.
That sounds lovely. But no.
Yeah, I don't think we have that here either.
You just go and you stand in line for as long as it takes. There have been riots at least one of the DMVs in our county, I think. So I avoid that place.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because the line was quite long, and I noticed a couple of times the officer who was in charge of the door let people in ahead of the line, and I thought, oh my gosh, people are going to riot, but they didn't. There's just sort of a level of despairing acceptance that goes with going to the DMV. You just say, I'm going to go. Bye, honey. I'll be back eventually.
Yeah.
It's just
don't expect anything from me today.
Right.
That's right. So I spent about 2.5 hours there, and then because I went to a faraway one that was cool, I spent another hour on the road going. I mean, it was a half an hour away. So, but it's good to get that done. It's one of those things that once you've done it, it feels great. Right. The actual doing, not so much. But I had to laugh because there was a kid in line in front of me most of the way, and he was getting his driver's license for the first time, and he was so jazzed to be there, and he was like a beacon of smiling enthusiasm in the midst of all of us gray, resigned, slogging adults. So I guess it's all how you look at it.
Well, I was just there recently because my daughter got her permit as well, so I don't know if I've talked about that yet or not, but she just got her driver's permit. So yes, a whole other...
Well, that's something to do. That's something for the bored kids to do. You can go driving.
Send them out on the road.
But does she have to have an adult with her?
Yeah. Well, she's just got her permit, so she has to drive with an adult, and for the next 6 months.
You got a good air conditioner in your car, right? You just go.
We'll go driving around.
Well, soon there will be something to occupy those bored kitties. The thing that they least want to do to occupy their boredom, which is go back to school. Um, On today's podcast, we're going to talk about back to school shopping. We're also going to talk about how old our kids were when they got their phones. We're going to shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and we're going to chat with Robert Romo Hudson about special needs sports. But first, about that back to school shopping. I have to rejoice that this year I do not have to do it. I have no children going back to school in any capacity. I don't have to get the notebooks and the stuff we got when they were little. And then as my son was in college recently, there was always at the beginning of a semester some permutation of a chef's outfit that we had to search down the pieces of. Don't have to do that. Don't have to buy the $200 college textbooks. Freedom, my friends.
Done.
Freedom. It feels good. You will make it to this finish line someday. But in the meantime, y'all are slogging in the lines at Staples and Office Depot, aren't you? Have you guys,
we will be.
have you started doing any school shopping yet?
I have not. I just got the whole big packet of papers from the high school, which, whoa, someone's going to high school. And I had an email from the middle school with their list of supplies, and I had to laugh because they sent the supply list, and then a day later they sent an email that said, "Correction, there was a mistake on the supply list. Instead of one protector, it should have read one protractor." I'm glad somebody's proofreading.
It stormed the mall and said, "What's a protector?
What's a
We need
protector?
one."
What do you mean?
I'm wondering what aisle they sent them to.
Right.
I mean, is it like a protector for the holes in your notebook, or is it
Yeah,
you need to go
exactly.
to the
I bet they got like
drugstore which we steer our kids past, or
they
what exactly?
probably got many panicky emails, so they had to issue a correction. So that's the kind of stuff that we buy. I mean, we don't do a whole lot of clothes shopping for back to school. It's kind of more of an ongoing thing, getting clothes as needed, like last week's discussion of underwear and the necessity of that.
Is that a thing people don't do anymore? Go shopping for school outfits? Because I remember when I was a kid, that was a big deal. My mom and I went to the mall in the valley once a year to get my back to school looks. But I don't know if it's just with my kids, it was just sort of an ongoing thing. I don't remember, except when my daughter was very little and it was really more about me than her. I don't really remember doing that. You do it still, Nicole?
Oh, yeah, very much so. We do the back to school. We have to have the whole look going on, the whole ensemble. And
What is the back to school look for this year for your daughter?
Well, surprisingly, there's a few throwback names that are still around that she likes to wear, like Adidas.
Yeah.
It just never seems to go away.
Yeah, that was popular in the 70s when I was in high school, and it's still around.
Yeah, and they've got these like throwback shoes that all the girls are wearing now, and of course Nike, and so yeah. Well, and speaking of back to school, we were just at a mall yesterday in Newport Beach, which is kind of, it's where all the LA people go to vacation at the beach. So you just walking.
Not a lot of outlet shopping there, in other words.
Not a lot of outlet shopping, and just walking into the mall itself. Well, it's an outdoor mall, but just walking into that whole area itself, you just feel this like huge cloud of depression sitting down on your shoulders as you realize you are not worthy enough to be shopping.
Oh dear, I've been in those malls.
The money that is just oozing from every crevice. And looking in that mall. I mean, this is a mall that has a shop specifically. I'm not sure if you're familiar with cars, but this mall has a shop specifically for the car Tesla.
Oh my!
So went to the Tesla store. Buy a Tesla.
You can actually buy a Tesla there at the mall?
Or is it like T-shirts and driving gloves or something?
That's the car that's only like mail order, right? There's some reason they can't have actual car lots of them or something.
Yeah, like it's because it's electric, right? I don't know. There's some story with it.
It's expensive anyway.
Very expensive. So, and the other funny thing about this particular shopping mall is, of course, I'm sure you've all seen the photos, the paparazzi photos of celebrities and their dogs, their little accessories. So you can bring your dog to this mall, and all the stores have water, bowls of water out the front and little treats, and women go in and out of the stores with their dogs on a leash, and it's just the craziest place to go back to school shopping.
Oh, wow. Do they employ somebody to hold your dog while you go try things on, or does the dog get to watch?
They do. I'm sure there are employees that will do that for you.
Yes, dog valet.
If you ask for it, they will do it. For sure.
Yikes. So did she do much school shopping there? Did she pick up an item?
Did she pick up a Tesla to drive to school?
Gucci notebook?
Thankfully, she's a little bit more pragmatic. And there were only 2 stores that her and her friend wanted to go into. And so they went into those stores. Okay. Found an item which was well under $100. So I was happy about that. And then they decided that the mall in the suburbs was better suited to their needs. Yes.
And your needs.
We left the beach mall and drove back into the suburbs.
Excellent.
Went to the standbys, Macy's, and all those stores. So yeah, it's been interesting just checking out what they're wanting this year. So yeah.
What sort of fashions is it? Do kids still wear skirts to school, or is it all jeans or shorts?
Oh gosh, I don't know about where you are, Catherine, but here it's the shortest shorts possible.
Yeah, really short. Yeah, I mean my daughter tends to wear like leggings, like sportsy leggings. To school almost all the time, and jeans, I guess, and jean shorts. I mean, there's not too much time in the school year where you can wear shorts. Yeah, where we are, it's just too cold. So. Yeah. But yeah, when they do wear shorts, they are short.
Do they have dress codes? Did they get in trouble for that?
Yeah, remember we had a whole podcast about
we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, my daughter has never been one who wishes to do that. She went through a sweatpants phase, and then after that, she would just pretty much wear jeans or long shorts. Yeah, she was not into that stuff. Anything that would get her in trouble with the dress code, she was not into. So I had it easy. Yay.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, you might remember this, Terry, from your days of living in California, but to me, it's almost like, I don't know what it is. It's the irony of it all, because here we are back to school shopping in these stores that have these beautiful sweaters and jeans.
Yes.
All items. Well, it's not going to be fall until December 21st.
Oh, so many years in my childhood where I would wear my sweater and wool skirt and knee socks to the first day of school because, darn it, that was my back to school look. And I don't care if it's 100 degrees and we're frying eggs on the sidewalk. This is what we bought. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So they end up just buying the summer clothes. And so because they're wearing shorts right into November here. So
yeah. Well, is there a particular notebook or type of study accessory that is hot right now? I know we used to like the all-in-one zippered notebook so that you don't have to go back and forth to your locker. You can just cram it full of everything you need for every subject.
Trapper Keeper?
Yeah, well, this was like a monster Trapper Keeper. Okay. It was particularly huge. But are Trapper Keepers still a thing?
I don't think so.
I don't No, not
Our schools will specify, you need a spiral notebook, you need a 3-ring binder, you need a folder. Like they'll get into that specific, and I wish I could get my child to use her locker. Like she comes home with this gigantic backpack and complains about how heavy it is. And then I say, "Do you have any homework?" "No." Like, well, then why on earth do you have all this stuff that you dragged home? Well, I'm not going to my locker. It's too far away. I'm like, oh my gosh.
See, we don't have locker, or my daughter doesn't have lockers at her high school. So
Really?
she carry all her textbooks, and none of her textbooks are online.
Oh, wow.
So she has to carry all of her textbooks,
That doesn't seem right.
everything, her PE clothes, her water bottle, everything.
Wow.
Goes
We had lockers in my middle school and high school. They were outdoors. I mean, all the hallways were outdoors, but we had them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
This
too
is an
bad.
outdoor school too, but I guess the lockers are, well, I mean, there's close to 2,000 kids in that school.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the high school where my daughter will be going, apparently the kids don't use the lockers either because they think they don't have enough time. Their passing time is 8 minutes, but the place is so big that they say they can't go to their locker.
And sometimes it's so crowded also. I know at our high school, which is quite big, there's a central hallway that you have to get up and down to do anything, and they call it the mosh pit. And I've been there a couple of times, and, it takes a while to get down it. Even though distance-wise it's not that much, you have to pretty much push your way through. So I can see where it's a problem. That's for my son, we always had it arranged that he could leave class a little bit early so he didn't have to go through that. So parents who have kids in special ed, get that in your IEP.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point, though.
Yeah, that's very nice because it's hard.
Actually, I was just thinking about that back to school accessory, and every year we definitely have to look for the right backpack.
Yes.
It has to be the right name brand, the right look, the right color. I think that's probably the biggest accessory.
See, I'm the meanie who's like, you have a backpack. We bought it last year. It still works.
Yeah, do you get a new one every year? Do they get to carry their backpacks around school, or do they have to, I guess if they don't go to their lockers, they do. Yeah, there was a rule at one time in our high school that you couldn't carry your backpack around. You had to put it in your locker and then just bring the books you needed to class.
No,
because it was just the hallways were so crowded, and to then have the huge backpacks.
Right.
But many people did not care for that rule.
Yeah. Excuse me, my child.
Catherine, I'm seeing here that you have to have a heart rate monitor as part of your back to school supplies. What the heck?
Yeah, so they, at the beginning of 6th grade, they tell them they have to buy this heart rate monitor, like a strap for it. Because, the strap is, then they have like the actual monitor that I think they keep at school and that, they use for all the gym classes. But the strap, because it like touches your body, you have to have your own. And you're supposed to use it from 6th grade through 12th grade. I'm like, I haven't even asked my inbound 9th grader if she has any idea where hers is. Because if you don't have it, then you're supposed to, I guess, buy it again. But yeah, I'm supposed to buy one for my 6th grader. And then that's it. You only have to buy it once, they say.
Yeah.
So that'll be...
What? Are they measuring their heart
they
the
use it in gym class.
Really?
They have, in the middle school, they have like a cardio fitness room, and they use that. They'll... I don't know, guys, because my daughter would get frustrated. She's like, I'm on the treadmill and I'm working hard and so-and-so's next to me and she's barely moving and my heart rate monitor is way below, like my pulse or whatever is way below hers. And the teacher says, well, that's just because you're in better shape than she is. And she finds that annoying.
This is the kind of thing that makes me suspect that a PTA member or a relative of a school board member had a business selling heart rate monitors and set something up.
Dealer.
Here, one for each student.
Right. And
now they have to keep
I know.
maintaining that.
That's so
Probably that's that's bad of me, but it's odd.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that they do some different things in PE so that it's not as awful as I remember it being.
I hated PE.
Yeah.
So worst subject.
Yeah. I mean, I hated it, but they do things like rollerblading and
Wow.
playing things that they think are fun, so.
Rollerblading.
Yeah.
Whoa, like around the school or in the gym or?
On the track outside.
Now, see, that would make me think that there's like a chiropractor or somebody set this up. I'm living in a town that is putting artificial turf on pretty much every surface with all sorts of suspicions as to why that's happening. So I'm just automatically going there whenever any money is being spent on something. Yeah, it's a fix.
Right.
Rollerblading. Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
I never had anything cool when I was in high school.
Yeah, so my daughter definitely hasn't hated PE the way that I always did when I was a kid.
Nice. Wow.
Well, should we move on to our speed round? Speaking of things that kids like and don't like. For our,
they have a course in that at school.
Right.
That would be a wise thing.
So for our special Friday speed round, Amanda joined us to discuss a topic that's near and dear to the heart of every tween and teen. So let's hear that.
So recently I wrote some cell phone contracts, and they're sort of like cell phone contracts for kids with ADHD. So you're looking at the things like distraction and all of those kinds of things that might be an issue when you have a cell phone and ADHD. But then I posted them, and I had a couple of people say to me, so how old do you think a kid should be before they get a cell phone? And I kind of thought, well, I don't actually know your child very well, so I don't want to answer that specifically because I think it varies. But I was thinking maybe there's an age. So I wanted to ask you guys, how old do you think kids should be before they get a cell phone? My kids got cell phones sort of when they were in middle school, when they started walking places by themselves and having after school activities that they would come home from. But it was not like smartphones. It was like the really basic flip phone. And we had the parental controls as to who they could call and who they couldn't call. And I mean, it was pretty stringent. I didn't want to be, So I don't know. Catherine, you have a couple of younger children. How old do you think your kids should be to get a cell phone? Or how old were they?
Yeah, my 11-year-old does not have a phone. My 14-year-old does. She got the actual smartphone when she was 13. I think that's right. Yeah. But when no, that's not even true. I think she got it when she turned 14. But before that, she had the dumb phone.
The dumb phone.
Which she talked me into getting her when she went away to camp. And she was nervous about it. And it was a camp where phones were allowed. Because she's also gone to a camp where they're not allowed. But this was one where she would be rooming with someone she didn't know. And she was pretty freaked out about it. So she wisely used that situation and we got her the flip phone for that.
Yeah. Nice.
So I think she was 12.
Yeah. And Terry, your kids are a little bit older, so they may not have come in on the cell phone craze, right?
We were very, not feeling like kids should have cell phones, but there was one, I remember exactly when my daughter got hers, because I think it was the end of her freshman year in high school. She was in the high school band, and the underclassmen played for the graduation every year. So she had gone to the local football stadium and played in the graduation, and then my husband went to pick her up, but it was chaos. He could not find her. She could not find him. Neither one of them had a cell phone. So it was about an hour of him calling me at home. Have you heard from her?
Oh, gosh.
No, I haven't. Her finding random people with cell phones and saying, can I use your cell phone? Calling me, who then I had nobody to call. Neither one of them could talk to each other. And I was the intermediary. And after I said that, I said, forget it. You
Cell
are getting
phone.
a cell phone. I could not make my husband get one then because he needed one too, but he would not have any part of it. But she at least could have a cell phone. So I think that it was a dumb phone at the time. But at least she had a way to call without just approaching random strangers and saying, "Hey, can I use your phone?"
Yeah, that seems reasonable. That seems like a good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they didn't get smartphones till they were in college, but at some point you say, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
You have to have a way because there's no payphones anymore.
Or if there are kids, don't carry change, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly. So if you're going to be away from home and need a pickup, you have to have a phone.
How about you, Nicole? Your kids, when did they get cell phones? Or
Well, my son had a cell phone in grade 6, but it was one of those ones with like 4 options. And I think it was actually called. Oh, we gave him a hard time.
It was like the Bumblebee or something, right? Like,
I think the Canadian version was like the Frog or something, and it actually like had a ribbit sound when it called. And it would accidentally go off in his class because he would forget to turn it off, and his friends would give him a hard time. But so when we moved here, we got the kids both cell phones, even though my daughter was a bit younger for emergency because we don't have any family in the area, and everything was just so new and different. So we thought we would get it for them for safety purposes. So, my daughter was fairly young, and my son was in middle school, and that's just kind of the way it's been ever since we've had them.
So it sounds like we're all saying it depends, and I'm good with that.
It really depends.
It depends.
As with most parenting questions.
It depends.
Depends on your kid.
Yeah.
Yes. So thanks, guys.
So remember, you can hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday, and Amanda is on all of them so that we don't have to miss hearing from Amanda now that she can't be on our group chats all the time.
Yes. So, because it takes 2 features to replace Amanda, in addition to putting a speed round in each of these episodes, we also have a new feature called Parenting Roundabout Roundup. Nicole?
Yes, and I was just going to introduce that.
Throwing the ball to you. Catch.
In this new segment, we bring you some of the things that we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. So, Terry, what have you got for us this week?
Well, since we talked about Pokemon earlier in this week in speed rounds, and we talked about it a little at the beginning of this app, I will mention a funny thing that Ellen Seidman did on her blog, Love That Max, which was a Pokemon Go names having to do with special needs parenting, like IEP related and service related, and things that will be amusing to people who have to deal with that. It often does indeed feel like you are facing phantom things as you go through
mythical creatures like the unicorn.
Yes, I've had years where services that were in the IEP were apparently mythical creatures and had to be hunted down. So that gave me a laugh this week. And I will have the link to that on the description for this podcast. But if you just Google Love That Max and check it out, you will find it there.
Great. I'm going to check that one out. Catherine, how about you? What have you got for us this week?
Well, I don't know if I feel like this is not as known as it has been in the past, but there is a new Harry Potter book coming out this weekend. So J.K. Rowling wrote a play that picks up kind of where, I don't know if you remember, but at the end of the Harry Potter series, it jumped ahead like 15 years or something, and it showed Harry's son going off to Hogwarts. And so this book picks up there and visits Harry's son in Hogwarts. So my son, who is 11, who has been recently kind of interested in Harry Potter. So he's been reading the old series and he has pre-ordered the new book. Our bookstore downtown had a special event for it. So we're excited about a new Harry Potter coming our way.
Yay. The only reason I know that exists, we're not Harry Potter people here, but my friend who is told me this weekend with great excitement, I pre-ordered the new Harry Potter. And I'm like, oh, there's a new Harry Potter. Okay.
Now you know.
Now I know. Now I know what it's about, too.
Yeah.
Which I did
We're
not
actually
at
going
the
to go
time.
to Universal Studios tomorrow and see the whole new Harry Potter. So, and it's so funny because my daughter has absolutely no clue. She was never a Harry Potter reader. So.
Nobody in my house was either.
We went to the one in Florida a couple of years ago, and I thought it was fun to see but I mean, if you haven't read the books, but I guess if you've seen the movies, it's fun to just see how they recreated the world.
And Nicole, what are you rounding up?
Well, because I was out shopping yesterday, and of course my daughter was asking for more money, please. Apparently, I'm like an ATM, a walking ATM.
Oh,
sure. Please see last week's.
Yes, listen to last week's on Kids and Money for more on that topic.
That's right. So she was actually legitimately short some money, and wanted me to give her some money, and I didn't have any cash. So my son introduced me to this app about a couple months ago, where you can easily transfer money through email. And it's called Venmo. And let me tell you, to all the people in the world who owe other people money, get the app and make their life easier. No more check writing, no more taking money out of the bank and giving to the other person. Just pay anybody with it. Your babysitter, your Uber driver, I don't know, whatever. Just pay.
Does it take from your credit card and to pay them, or
your bank
or your bank account? Yeah,
it's from your bank account, and just a simple. Just put in there. I mean, you've got to do a little bit of setup, but you just basically put in their name and how much you want to send them, and then you hit send, and then your money goes to them, and you never have to worry about it again.
I've done that through my bank, but there was always hoops for the other person to jump through. So that sounds like an interesting thing.
And then the other person just accepts it, and it goes into their bank account. So it is awesome. Our distribution.
So you no longer have to carry any cash in your pocket to give your kids money. You can just send it directly to their debit card.
Perfect.
This is the world we live in now. Well, moving on to our weekly interview segment. This week we have an interview with Robert Rummel Hudson, who blogs at Fighting Monsters with Rubber Swords and is the author of Skylar's Monster. He chats with us once a month about special needs parenting, and this week he and I had a chat about special needs sports. Let's go to that now. So today we're going to talk a little bit about special needs sports, I guess pros and cons thereof. Rob, what is Skylar involved with in sports?
Skylar has been doing Miracle League, our local Miracle League league, and for a number of years now. She's mostly been involved in soccer because that's I think where she's had the most success. That's the one that seems to get in her sort of animal soul when she's out there. And the one time she really seems like she's actually really invested, and she's pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
She also has done baseball, which has been a little bit more hit and miss.
Right.
So no pun intended.
Oh,
that was terrible. That was totally unintentional. I mean, she's baseball is hard anyway.
Yeah.
And so she's had less success with that. She took a little bit of time off from it, but I think she wants to go back, and I think that has to do more with the people that are playing than anything else. But so she's been involved in that for some time. Okay. Really, the only other thing that was even close is she did cheerleading in school when she was in 8th grade, which that left a mark that will never fade. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But for sports, it's been almost exclusively soccer and baseball.
Yeah. I don't think we have Miracle League here. I haven't heard of it, but we do have for baseball Challenger League, which is the special needs segment of Little League.
Oh, okay.
And they play 3 innings. Everybody gets up to bat. Everybody gets pitched to until they hit. Everybody gets home. Which is real fun, and I would have loved to have that when I was a kid. Boy, I could have enjoyed that.
Yeah. A baseball career would have been much different.
Yes, but it's still at the same time, it's not competitive. And the kid who makes a great catch and tags somebody out, that person is still safe. And so I wonder sometimes if for kids who are, have disabilities but still understand wins and losses, how satisfying it really is. And my son has also been very active in Special Olympics. He's done bowling, he does track, and basketball, they just do like a, making baskets one night thing. And bocce. I never knew that bocce was like a thing that young people did. I thought it was things that my father-in-law did, but they have it for Special Olympics. And that has been a really good experience in many, many ways. We just went for our state Special Olympics the weekend before last. And it's always really neat to see, except I've been noticing lately that we have all different ages in our team. From my son's age, he's in his early 20s, to people who are close to my age. And although you say the oath that let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt, and that is the whole attitude of the Special Olympics, that just to be out there competing is a win and everybody should feel good about everything, people still know what's a medal and what's a recognition that you participated.
Right.
And athletes will still walk up to each other and say, why didn't you get the gold medal? Didn't you run fast enough? And it was really awkward to me, this time especially, to be able to, how do you support the people who really do win? You were the fastest. That is awesome. That is terrific, without making the fourth place person feel bad. Or to tell the fourth place person, you know what, all that counts is you went out there and you did your best, without kind of dissing the person who actually won. It's one of those things that it seems like we should all be able to just go out and compete and feel good, but human beings know the difference.
Right.
Even people, everybody knows the difference. Little tiny children know the difference. People with disabilities know the difference. And how do you do that without being condescending, without saying, oh, for you, it doesn't matter. For you, it's just okay to get whatever medal you get. So I've been feeling sort of mixed about the special needs sports experience for that reason, and also because, holy cow, from an inclusion point of view, it is a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And, it's Skylar's Miracle League group is, I've watched them try to address this, and they've had some success. They've broken the league up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that there's the Miracle League, and then there's like a unified league, which is what Skylar participates in, where the impairments are less physical. Mm-hmm. So they're able to play a little bit more competitively.
Yeah.
And they've had some success with that. A lot of the coaches will do things to try and recognize individual players on a game per game basis. Mm-hmm. A player who does especially well, they'll get the game ball.
Yeah.
They'll have all the details of that particular game written. And Skylar's got a few.
That's nice.
And it sort of singles somebody out, but only in sort of a very much on a case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's tricky, I think, in a lot of ways because of the way that the in her case, anyway, the and I guess if they're not separated like that with a unified league, and then the kids who need more physical help, the problem is that it groups. I don't know if it's really a problem, but it's a challenge. It groups a lot of kids together whose disabilities clash in kind of a major way. Skylar's in a group with a lot of kids with autism and a lot of kids with Down syndrome. Yeah. And it's an interesting mix, and the thing is, these kids adore each other. They really do.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that there's very much a success story going on when they kind of come together and support each other, and that's very much there. But at the same time, there are a lot of there are elements to each. Skylar can be a nightmare for kids with autism. Yet she has a lot of friends with autism, but she's very because of her communication difficulty in the past. She developed very early on a very physical interaction, a very physical way of interacting with people. Mm-hmm. So she's very touchy, very grabby, She's
Yeah.
a close talker. She's all the things that, yeah, and she's and for her some of her friends with autism, that can be very challenging.
Yeah.
Watching her trying to navigate a boy situation right now, and it's based on Miracle League. It's all come out of Miracle League, and it is sort of it's a very interesting little microcosm of a lot of the larger issues that go on with the league itself.
Yeah.
Like, she and this boy really like each other, and I'll see her go to give him a big hug, and he'll hug her back, and he's very happy, but his eyes are like just clenched, closed. And I realized that he is working through a lot of his own sort of sensory issues, and because he really wants this to work. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's kind of how the league in general works. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe there's a kind of training going on here that is, I don't know, not the kind of thing that can go on in school so much. You know, in school it's all about very much everyone kind of being on the same track and figuring things out. And in the sporting situation, I think, you know, if there are conflicts, and if there are things that the kids kind of have to power through, maybe this is the environment for it, you know? Maybe they need to have a Miracle League boxing league, you know?
Wrestling of some sort.
We'll put that on the list of terrible ideas that I've had that no one should ever listen to, ever. Boxing and maybe fencing, I think.
There you go.
These are two things they need to add. So I feel like there is... I don't know what the answer is. I do feel like one of the things that I see online a lot are people making fun of the whole participation medal thing. And that tweaks me because of Skylar's particular situation. And I always want to say, you know, there are cases where that's exactly what is needed. And, you know, and you're a jerk for thinking otherwise. But at the same time, I understand, and I'm not even 100% in disagreement with this idea that the participation medal does sort of dilute the experience. And I think even for kids with disabilities, or maybe especially for kids with disabilities, that becomes, you know, maybe it becomes a reminder. Maybe it reinforces something that we don't want to reinforce. But I don't know the way around it.
Yeah, I really don't either, other than to say that if we believe they don't know the difference, that's kind of condescending and not true.
It is. And I honestly don't think there's anyone who's more aware.
Yeah.
You know? So this is an Olympic year coming up. So so that the whole sort of hyper competitive thing, I think is it's going to be especially acute when we see, you know, every day you're seeing the people that really are. You know, they're going for something that's definitely not a participation medal.
That's right.
And so, I think it's going to be even more important to find that middle ground. And I don't know where it is, other than I think the idea of small recognitions is a step in the right direction. That's why I always liked the game by game. You know, here's who won the game ball. Yeah. And it's funny because I watched the coaches in a very subtle way work that game ball through as much of the team as they can.
Yeah.
But even the game ball becomes a bit of a participation medal.
Right.
But in a way that is very subtle. Because on a game by game basis, they can find something.
Right.
You know, Bob gets the game ball because he made that awesome play at second base and blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever it is, the coaches can find these sort of moments and latch onto those moments.
Yeah.
And it's a very sneaky way to kind of give everyone this moment of recognition. And I like that. I don't even know if they understand how clever that is. I think they're just like coaches. Oh, crap, I got to give a game ball.
Yeah.
But I think there's a kind of wisdom there in sort of the not obvious participation medal, I guess.
Right.
You know, and you're not lying. You're not creating something that's inauthentic. But you're looking at these smaller moments, and in those smaller moments, you can find these moments of achievement and recognize those. And you may not get the gold medal, but you have that moment. You have that. You know, whether it's a smaller medal, whether it's a little trophy that that recognizes a specific achievement, whatever it is, I think maybe those small moments are the way to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Gee, we could all use that. I want my little trophy for...
No kidding.
Well,
I want the medal that says your child is still alive. Congratulations. Nobody thought you could do it.
I will have to make up a graphic of that, Rob, and I will send it to you and anybody else who needs one. Hit me up on Twitter.
A T-shirt and wear it every single day of my life.
Well, we made it through this talk alive anyway. So thank you so much for talking with us again this month, and we will see you next month.
Thank you so much.
All right, so always good to hear from Rob. And now for our final segment today, we're going to do a little shameless self-promotion, as we like to do each week, and we'll direct you to some things on our own sites of our own work that we think you should take a look at. Terry, what do you have?
Well, I'm seeing that Facebook post about showing your support for kids with special needs going around again. And once again, I have the feeling that simply cutting and pasting something is not enough. So I have a version of that I try to trot out every time I see this meme going around, and it is on my site at Mothers with Attitude. I'll have the link for it with the description of this episode. However, if you just go to motherswithattitude.com, it's there in the right-hand column. You can share it. You don't have to cut and paste it. And I think it has more ideas as to what people could do to support kids with special needs than just cut and paste a few platitudes.
Awesome. How about you, Nicole?
Well, since we're talking about back to school, I'm thinking about all the teachers out there who are going into classrooms and have kids of all abilities in their classrooms, or want to teach kids of all abilities to be able to reach them. So, and I've mentioned this before, but I did an online professional development course with another organization called Kids Included Together. And it's meant for teachers and parents who want to understand or get a better understanding of what inclusion is and why you need it now and what to do about it. So I will pass the link on to Terry to post.
Excellent.
Great. And I have on Very Well a piece about Olympics-inspired fitness for kids. Fitness, I think, is a little bit of a stretch in that title, but it's just games and activities and ways you can kind of pretend like you are in the Olympics without having to worry about polluted water or the Zika virus. So check that out on Very Well.
Okay. And that is it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from iTunes. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Momitude, Nicole is at Nicole Eridix, Catherine is at About Family Fit, and Amanda is at Amanda Morin. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our blog at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin for producing the podcast and providing our in and out music, and I wish everybody a great week.